Hmm. Okay, so today we're going to hear from Dr. Noor from the University of Central Florida, I believe. If you have any questions during her presentation, please put them in the chat and we will get to them. We'll have about 5 minutes at the end of the presentation to respond to those. Um, and let's go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to my today's workshop that is from one size fits to all to inclusive classrooms. That is mainly differentiation strategies for multilingual learners and also learners from diverse language background. So my name is Laila Noor. I had completed my PhD from UCF, and now throughout today's our workshop, I will provide some practical strategies that teacher can use when they have a classroom with with multilingual learners or learners with different proficiency levels. We know that with the modern world of globalization nowadays, we have a classroom where students from diverse cultural background, diverse academic background, and sometimes diverse proficiency level in a same classroom. So as a teacher, we face new challenges that we have very limited time, we have our limited resources, but we need to support that all diverse students at the same time, so all of them feel valued and all of them feel that they are properly addressed, their challenges are properly addressed in the classroom. So how can we do that? So I will provide four strategies to support diverse learners or diverse background students. And for this teaching, I do not believe one size fits to all because we need to scaffold our learning based on our learners' needs. So here is a uh, so here is the roadmap of our today's workshop that at the beginning we'll talk about the learning outcomes of this workshop and what we will come across and why this topic is necessary. And then I will provide four strategies, for example, tired task, scaffolded support, flexible assessment, and cultural and linguistic support that the teachers can use in their classroom to address the diverse need of the learners. And at the end of the workshop, we had some reflection questions, takeaways, and also question answer sessions. So here is a small, you see in the screen, there are six challenges that generally teachers come across in the classroom that based on differentiate learners or differentiate proficiency, sometimes different linguistic diversity, cultural diversity, sometimes we face challenges with equality versus equality. So I would request the participants to see which type of challenges you face in your classroom, if any, from here, and then type that in the chat box. You can just type the number, and if you face more challenges, you can type more numbers. Okay, so you can type one, two, three based on what are the challenges you face. So we can see that what are the challenges generally the classroom teacher faces in the classroom in terms of diversity. Yeah, so we are already receiving the answers or challenges that the classroom teachers face in the classroom. So we are expecting more and more response. Well, so so I will take few seconds so that other participants can also join if they have any challenges they come across in their classroom. So whatever our participants provided their input, based on that we have come across that the first challenge our many participants face, like, have you taught a class where some students struggle with basic English where others are already advanced? So the challenge regarding diverse proficiency level in the same classroom. And we also come across some other challenges, like, do you find it challenging to support all students equally while still maintaining the same learning objectives? That is a challenge between equity and equality. And we saw that our teachers also face these challenges in the classroom. So the based on these challenges, I also want to share my experience that I have faced the challenges, almost all of the six challenges in my classroom. Because sometimes one of my classroom might have 30 students with 20 different countries, so they have different cultural and academic background. They also have their different first languages. So sometimes students' personalities are different. So student engagement in the classroom also varies based on their personality, their also cultural background. For example, some countries' students are more active and they love to engage in the classroom and they are verbal, but other countries student, I feel, they are some countries background are they are shy, they do not like to actively participate in the classroom. Okay, so there are diverse challenges we face in a diverse and dynamic classroom. So based on that, now, I would like to give some focus that why this topic is important. So this topic is important because I said with the globalization, almost all over the world, our classrooms are getting gradually multilingual and diverse background level, which requires to address the diverse proficiency levels and learners need in a same classroom with limited time frame and sometimes with limited teaching materials. Second, in teaching, one size does not fit all generally. And so when we apply the same teaching method or task for all learners in the same classroom, sometimes some students feel more challenged, while some other students might feel they are not sufficiently challenged, which ultimately creates an imbalance in the classroom. So we need to come out of that one size fits all, rather to choose some task or materials or objectives based on diverse learners need in the same classroom. So because of this, differentiated instruction is important because differentiated instruction promotes equity by supporting all students toward the same learning goal. And in this regard, inclusive strategies, including strategies in the classroom, help students to engage better and they feel more confident and their participation increases. So I would say that effective differentiation, if a teacher can use effective differentiation techniques in the classroom, it help to lead improve academic outcome of the students, and also students feel more motivated, engaged in the classroom, and also outside of the classroom. So here I want to share a quote that equality gives everyone the same task, but equity gives each learner what they need. So after this workshop, here are the learning outcomes that what the teachers will learn, or they will be able to explain the principles and benefits of differentiated instruction for multilingual learners. So they will learn what are the principles and what are the positive outcomes if they imply differentiate learning in a multilingual learners and diverse classroom setting. They will also be able to design several strategies such as tiered tasks to address various type of English proficiency level, but at the same time, they will be able to maintain the same learning objective in the classroom. The teachers will also be able to apply several type of scaffolded supported that are based on Vygotsky's zone of proximal development to support the learners based on their specific need. The teachers will also able to develop assessment process, that is flexible assessment process based on the learner's level, and how the assessment process demonstrate the learner's understanding through writing, speaking, and visual representation. The teachers will also be able to integrate cultural and linguistic support for the learners, because based on cultural background, sometimes our students personality behavior differs, so it is important to know about several cultural background and support the learners based on their cultural background, and sometimes also allow the students to use their first language in terms of brainstorming and to promote equitable participation and engagement in the classroom. So here we are talking about our first strategy, that is using tiered task for differentiation. So tiered tasks mainly provide the same learning goal, but at various level of complexities. So in our classroom, most of the time in one classroom with the same students, we have generally have one learning goal for each classroom. So, but our level of complexity could be differ based on our students' background, linguistics background, cultural background, etc. So, for example, for tier one, we can provide some general instruction and general assessment. For tier two, it will be more additional support. Teachers can provide supplementary instruction and assessment. And for tier three, it will be more intense and individualized support. That will be more specialized instruction, more detailed instruction that will help mainly for the advanced learners. So all these tier combinedly help all learners to succeed based on their based on their levels or based on their background. So here is one of the tasks that I want to share one of the example of how we can use tier task for differentiation. So I will share three levels, for example, beginners, intermediate and advanced levels. So for tier task, our goal is same, objective is same, but our level of complexities are different. Okay. So for example, we have the same topic, that is what is the benefit of learning English. So now when we are teaching it to the beginner learners, so what could be our teaching strategies? We'll keep it in mind that beginner learners are mainly tier one. They need more simple instruction, very more simple instruction and understanding, and their assessments will be also to check whether they understand the basic things. So, for example, for beginner learners, we can provide them some task. For example, we can provide them some sentence frame, that how to make a sentence, and also provide some word bank to express their idea based on their proficiency level. So, for example, for beginner learners, here teacher could provide some word bank to express their idea of benefit of learning English, and those word banks use see these are mainly very easy vocabulary like technology, help, people, communication, and how to express themselves. Teacher can also provide some sentence frame. For example, technology help people to communicate. So they already have word bank, they already have sentence frame. So beginner learners will be able to express themselves by using those word bank and sentence frames. So teacher is providing some support so that it can help learners to express their ideas. That is benefits of learning English. For intermediate learners, we might go to more detail, more advanced level, like we can ask to write an structured paragraph. So though the subject is same, that is benefits of learning English, but here we are expecting some more advanced level like a structured paragraph. And we also say that, okay, it could be 4 to 6 sentences. And we are providing also some guidelines like you should have a topic sentence, you can have some supporting ideas to develop your ideas, and you can also use some linking words or transitional words. So using these things, we are providing more detailed instruction. So you see for intermediate level, the task is little bit advanced than compared to the beginner learners. So for advanced learners with the same objectives, we can give more details and more individualized instruction. For example, you should use a full academic paragraph with 12 to 15 sentences. The guidelines are more detailed and more specific, like you should have topic sentence, you should have a thesis statement, and you should have supporting details with examples and evidences. And you might use some academic vocabulary and advanced vocabulary. You should have some concluding sentence. So you see that our goal is same, our objective is same, but based on different proficiency level, we are providing different type of tired task so that all students in the classroom feel enough challenged and they do not feel like that they are lagging behind or they are not enough challenged. So based on this, we come up with the idea that tired task is based on same objective but different level of complexities. And you can use it to your classroom that you can give one writing prompt but three levels of support to your different level of students. So let's have a quick check-in that as a teacher, when you will design your tired task in the classroom, so you can think about a lesson that you currently teach. So what topic could you differentiate using tired task? You can give a topic and then you can provide some ideas that for beginner, what type of support you want to give. For advanced learners, what type of support you can give. So I'm providing 1 minute to respond to the chat box that giving any ideas of topic that you want to use your next classroom. Also, what type of tired task you want to support the learners for that topic. Okay, so now let's go to our second strategy, that is scaffolding support for differentiation. We know that according to Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, scaffolding support, oh, just 1 second, please. Scaffolding support means what the learners can do by their own and what they can do with the help of guidance from a more knowledgeable one. So some things learners can do by themselves, but learners cannot do everything individually. They need support from a more knowledgeable person, that could be teacher or their peer, and what they can do with the help of a more knowledgeable person. So that is, we know about Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. So these are mainly scaffolded support. So now we'll see that how we can provide scaffolded support to the multilingual learners. Again, to the same different proficiency level, how can we provide different scaffolded support? So here I want to mention that the basic difference between tired task support and scaffolded support is where tired task support provide the same task with the same learning objectives, or they just change the complexities. On the other hand, scaffolded support is providing the support based on the learner's proficiency level, and it is not based on the complexity, rather it is based on what type of support that specific learners need, and gradually they are removing that scaffolded support. So, for example, if we have the same topic, that my favorite place, for beginner learners, the scaffolded support will be guided sentences with strong purpose. And these guided questions, they are providing some guided questions so that it helps them to brainstorm. So when we work on tired tasks, we more see that it is with sentence frame, it is with word bank, but when we are coming with scaffolding, we are noticing that it is more about helping them to think critically, okay, to generate their critical thinking about ability, their intellectual ability. So guided support so that they can work in their thinking capabilities and developing those things. So for that, we can provide some guided questions like, what is your favorite place? Why do you like it? Okay. So in this regard, we can also provide some sentence frame for that based on their proficiency level. So it will help them to brainstorm and then express their ideas. So it is kind of combination of a scaffolded support with tired task together. Okay. For the intermediate level, we also can see that the students will write structured paragraph, and here the scaffolded support will help them to generate their ideas, to help them to brainstorm. For example, write two reasons why this place is important for you. So the students will help brainstorming and providing some guidance how to brainstorm that is based on their proficiency level. So here the teacher also can provide sentence structure, what are the favorite place and why the place they like. And that teacher can also provide a model paragraph, an example paragraph, maybe not on the same topic, maybe on a different topic, but to understand that how the paragraph structure works. So then the students understand the paragraph structure, then they can write their own paragraph with the different topic. So here, this type of guided support could help them. For advanced learner, the scaffolded support will be to help them to think more critical way, because for advanced and intermediate learner, we need to understand that they have enough vocabulary to express themselves critically. So we need to, as a teacher, we need to make sure that our intermediate and advanced learners are exploring their those levels, because they have already advanced vocabulary, they have advanced grammatical structure knowledge. So as a teacher, our scaffolded support makes sure that they are able to use those things. So when we are providing scaffolded support, like for example, for brainstorming, we need to make sure that our advanced learner can think something critically. Okay, so we can provide those questions for their brainstorming, which ultimately help them to think critically about a subject. And when they will express their knowledge, we also need to make sure that their language use is advanced. For example, they are using advanced vocabulary, they are using more complex grammatical structure. Okay, so our scaffolded support is to explore those areas to help the learners to come up with using their those language faculty they already have, and also provide them some challenge so they can go beyond their level. That means they are kind of learning. Challenge is necessary for the learners to grow. Okay, so we need to make sure that our scaffolded support combines those things. So for example, you see that when we are doing brainstorming, we are not just asking that, hey, what is uh, importance of a personal space? Rather, we are asking, what is the importance you think about emotionally, socially, and psychological benefits? So three areas so you can think critically. Then we are also providing some vocabulary support that is more academic and advanced level learners. And then we are providing some guidance that you should have a topic sentence, you should have thesis statement, you should have supporting ideas. For example, in classroom for my advanced learners, I always encourage them to use some research studies to support their strengthen their point. Okay, so I said that, okay, just don't give some examples. Examples are always good, but as an advanced learner, try to provide some evidence, provide some research article or any report to strengthen your point. So then they are knowing how to use literature review in their writing. Okay, so these are something that we are pushing them to go some challenge so they can develop critically and also develop their understanding. So this type of scaffolding support we can give the learners, and throughout the time we need to make sure that gradually when the learners will develop, will reduce the scaffolded support. Okay, this support will be reduced gradually. So you can try these things in your classroom, that using sentence frame and guided questions, what it could be. So here are also some quick in questions, that what scaffold do you use most in your classroom? Is it sentence frame, word banks, guided questions, model examples, or anything else? So you can respond you here with a in the chat box if you use any type of scaffolded support in your classroom. So our third strategy is flexible assessment for differentiation. So we have supported our students. Now it's time for assessment their knowledge, that how far they understand and how far they can demonstrate that knowledge. Okay. So for this thing, we can also remember based on proficiency level, it will be different. For beginner learners, maybe you can ask write 3 or 4 simple sentences, or sometimes you can ask them to just draw a picture or draw something to express their ideas, or sometimes you can provide ask them to record their answer or answer some guided questions. So the purpose of assessment for the beginner learners is basic understand and simple expression. For the intermediate learner, we can use the same method of assessment, but more structured, and we are giving more directions to the learners and making sure they are more challenged to express themselves. For example, you can write an oral explanation, you can write a simple mind map or brainstorming map. Sometimes I ask my students to do that. So here the purpose is to clear organization and explanation. For advanced learners, there will be more challenge like academic paragraph writing. What I said, for advanced learner, I expect they are using sources in their writing to demonstrate their knowledge and support their arguments, and detailed map. Here, more depth of understanding, and we see that whether they can express their critical thinking capability. So here is a quick check-it that what type of assessment formats do you think that student responds best in your classroom? Is it writing, speaking, visual representation, recording, or something like that? So you can use these things in the classroom, that you can let students to choose that which type of expression they feel comfortable. Some students feel more comfortable in video recording. Some students feel more comfortable in typing their answers. So sometimes I provide multiple opportunities for the students which way they want to express themselves in comfortable way, and also making sure that my objectives are met throughout the assessment process. So the last strategy is cultural and linguistic support. What I said, that throughout the globalization nowadays, our classrooms are multilingual learners from different cultural background, academic background. So sometimes our students, they prefer to brainstorm or think in their first language because it helps them to deeper understanding and come up with deeper critical thinking capability. So sometimes I allow my learners to brainstorm their first language. And I also noticed that using first language helped the learners to organize their ideas better, and also help them to reduce their cognitive load, especially for lower level learners. So I appreciate using first language based on their levels. And then using first language, also scaffolding using first language sometimes strengthen learning without lowering the academic expectation. So I generally as a teacher do not see that the learner's first language as a competitor, or is it something should be avoided, because some classes or some program said only English or only second language. But I feel that combining both sometimes help my students to more express themselves more better. So many times I prefer brainstorming with first language, sometimes come up with a brainstorming map with first language, but then it helps them to translate their knowledge and ideas in second language in more organized way and more deeper way, that I notice. So I appreciate it sometimes based on my purpose. So you can also allow your students, if you want to brainstorm their first language before writing English. So after the class, you can have the reflection from all the students that, hey, what did you find easy? What were challenging in the class? And what type of support you found that it helped you most? So these type of reflection also help the students to be more aware of their learning process, and also give teachers some ideas that what are the things students are comfortable, or what are the things teacher might need to change. And I used to do it on my all classes because students expectations levels varies in every classes. So what are the takeaways of today's workshop? I would say that we have learned about the differentiation in instruction, the differentiate level of support, and sometimes we can keep the same learning objectives but differentiate based on the learners. We can use tiered tasks to address different diverse proficiency level when our learning objective is same. We can also use scaffolded based on scaffolded support to the learners, and it could be on the same objective or with different objective. But we need to make sure that scaffolded support is reduced throughout the time. And we should offer flexible assessment options to the learners so that they feel more comfortable, and maybe their creativity varies based on their which level of assessment is going on. So also value students' cultural and linguistic sources as a resource. And I think that they are bringing their unique and inclusivity when they come from different background. So it is something I always appreciate. So the closing statement is that I believe differentiation is not an extra work, it's just smarter teaching. Small adjustment can make a big difference in student success. And there is a reflection question that what is one strategy that you want to try in your classroom in next week? So here is the references. So what the strategies I talk, I had some hand notes about that, and I provided these hand notes here. So if any teacher wants to download those hand notes, and they can see how those works for them. So if you have any questions, please.
Yes, does anyone have any questions? We haven't had any in the chat. I do want to thank Dr. Noor for her informative presentation. One of the things that she mentioned at the end is the importance of reflection, asking the students to reflect on their own learning, which is something that is so often not happening in classrooms that really does make a difference in terms of their own understanding of their learning, which only improves what they say. See, do you do you have a question, Mahar Kabasi? Do you want to add it to the chat or unmute? And
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Laila. Thank you, Bill. Thank you so much for this fruitful, actually, session. My biggest wondering, because I'll take time typing, the wondering about the clash which we face in reality, actually. Most of our educational systems are built on unified summative exams results. I'm talking about that because I know we differentiate in teaching, but we are not differentiating in examining, like when it comes to external exams, I mean. So this is the biggest challenge. The expectations from the students, they are, when they sit the exams, they deal with the students as they are one unit, like they are the high achievers. And based on the results, they got accepted in the universities or not. I believe more in exams like formative exams, which put the students in scale, like the map testing, for example, the American one, which gives the students the scale and which allows me as an educator to work on that level. But my biggest challenge is the external exams, which is required for their equivalency here in my country, or which is required to enter the universities. Is there any idea how to do that? This clash is our biggest concern, actually, in reality, to be honest. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I had my teaching experience in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh also had the same things. Bangladesh educational system is different from USA educational system. USA is more kind of what I say that uh, what you said the challenge that I had already in Bangladesh. So I can feel that what you are talking about. And yeah, so there is summative assessment that actually sometimes we cannot do anything because it is a final assessment and they have their own question set from a different area, and we need to work on that gradually also, but that is not a quick solution. So for in my classroom, as a quick solution, I always focus on formative assessment, that throughout their learning process. I know that at the end of the level, that will be everyone will be in the same level, but my students are actually not in the same level, right? So I try to focus out throughout my classroom journey to differentiate my students level. And when I see that these students actually is not up to the level, then I provide some extra support to that student. So I make some groups in my classroom. That is in my mind. I do not speak it loud because sometimes students in the same classroom might not feel comfortable to hear that I need extra support based on their cultural background. Okay, so they might feel like that I'm not well enough. Okay, so I need to keep in mind that I'm not hurting my students' feeling, but as a teacher, what I'm noticing, I'm keeping all this in my mind, and based on my mind and knowledge, I provide extra support, maintaining the privacy and respect of the students, so they do not feel like that I'm not enough, okay, or I'm not like equal to my student other peers. Okay, so but I provide them extra support. I feel like that, hey, you did this good, I maybe you will help, these things will help you more. Okay, so when I'm providing some handout, I know that this handout is not same for the say all students. Okay, so then these are some ways to help them to go more advanced way, more support. So these are some of the way I try to balance. But I do agree with you that our infrastructure and our administration that also need to change based on our differentiating instruction and acknowledge the differentiations in the classroom. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Laila. Thank you.
Yeah, so I would also like to share my PowerPoint here. So because there are some changes that came that I was used earlier or shared with the group. So I'm sharing my PowerPoint. So if anyone here, I have handouts and everything. So if anyone need those, it might help them. So here, thank you. And if anyone wants to contact with me or any collaboration, this is my LinkedIn account. You can reach out to me. So that's all from my end. Thank you everyone for joining this session, and I appreciate your participation and interest.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming, and enjoy the rest of the conference. There's one more set of sessions.